Well, it's the most wonderful time of the year, and that is, of course, TBR Spin announcement time. Yay! Hi, my name is Sarah Freshly, and welcome to Freshly Read Books. This is year 4 of TBR Spin happening. That can't be right. Is that right? I think that's right. That's crazy. I've been doing this for the majority that my channel's been around, which it doesn't feel like it. And it's also crazy to think that last year I was like, I'm gonna try for the first 3 months to do a live stream and see how it goes. And now I've live streamed every TBR Spin month spin that has happened. Let me tell you what this is about. This is a mess already. So TBR Spin is a year-long reading challenge where you are gonna be placing priority on 12 books coming from your stacks that you do really wanna get to in this year. You can make this be a part of your 26 books to read in 2026 list. If that's what you do, I'm just doing a 20 books to read in 2026 list this year because the 25 of 25 was too much. That was too much. But you enter into the year with these 12 books that you wanna read from your TBR. And then every month we get together on a live stream. You can also watch the stream later if you can't catch it live, that's fine, where I spin a wheel and that will give us a prompt that should lead us to one of the books on our stack. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes you don't have any book on your stack that fits the prompt, so then you have to pick a book from your larger TBR and remove one book from your stack. I try to make the prompts so that they will work for the most amount of books possible so that everybody should have something on their stack, at least early in the year that would fit to it. It gets a little more dicey towards the end of the year when you have like 3 books left on your stack, then it's a lot harder and a lot more potential for like swapping books off. And then talking of swaps, there are also always 2 swap prompts on the wheel, meaning that if we land on that, then you will have to swap off a specific book. The prompt will tell you how to pick that book, and you will swap on another book. So for example, you swap out the longest book on your TBR Spin stack for a shorter book, or something like that. So we do this spin usually like the weekend before the month that you're supposed to read the book in, so that ideally you can add it on to any TBRs if you do monthly TBRs, and you have that month to read the book. It's a fun way to get through books that have maybe been on your TBR for a while, or you just know for sure that you want to read this year. You don't want to let it fall to the wayside. Maybe you just bought it, but you're like not sure when you're gonna fit it in, and so it'll just be nice having it on this list because that really ups your chances of reading it. Also, if you have suggestions for what I should put on the wheel this year, please do let me know. I don't want to just like keep reusing the ones that I have come up with, and it is a bit of a challenge to come up with these prompts because I do want it to hopefully fit something that you have on your stack. So like an always easy one is to read like the shortest book on your stack, or the longest book on your stack, or the book you're most excited about reading on your stack, or the book that's been on your TBR the longest. Like all of those, you definitely have one for that every time. So usually like the most least type prompts, those are always great, but really anything that can stay like pretty open would work great. Also, during those live shows, we do reading sprints immediately following the spin so that you can make progress in your book, either in your new book, your book in the current month if you haven't finished it yet, or any book you want. Or if you're not participating in TBR Spin, you're more than welcome to come for the reading sprints. It's still a really fun time. You don't have to be reading a book from your TBR Spin stack. Honestly, none of us would know either way. Since everybody's stack is unique to them, you know, it doesn't really matter. What I do, at least in the first sprint of the reading sprints, I always start the book that I just got on that spin because otherwise I can't super rely on myself to actually finish the book before the end of the month, which was my problem for the first 2 years of TBR Spin. I did a lot better this last year. I do still have 3 books that are from like kind of more the end of the year to read towards that. I just started getting like other reading priorities later in the year, so then I wasn't reading them. But I do think I'm gonna be DNFing one of those, so then it's really just 2 that I have left, and both of them are pretty short. Okay, one of them is pretty short. And without further ado, let me talk you through my stack. This is technically subject to change. So for me, I tend to pick the oldest books on my TBR. That's what I did last year for most of them. I did have, I think, 2 that were more recent to my shelves, but this year I am doing actually the oldest 12 on my TBR. That being said, there are a couple that are older than this that are on my 25 books to read in 2025 list that I am trying my best to finish before the end of the year, but if I don't, they will probably wind up on this stack. And in reality, it's just 2 books that I have that have been on my shelves for longer than any of the books on my stack. Well, technically 3, but I'm in the middle of one of them. So I do think that I'll be able to finish those by the end of the year. I think that that's realistic. I do have other reading plans, so we'll see, but I do think that I can. So I'm pretty confident in this stack. I just want to give that disclaimer. I'm going to start with the biggest book, not in profile or page count, but in like literal size. This is huge. This book I kind of always forget is on my TBR because I don't have any shelves that are tall enough to stand it straight up. I could change the heights of my shelves, but I really don't like the look of different height shelves. So it's always laying down on its side at the very bottom of my shelf. And so I always forget about it. It is now one of the oldest books on my TBR, probably for that very reason. And that is In the Shadow of No Towers by Art Spiegelman. Art Spiegelman is the author of Mouse, which was like a huge deal. I still haven't read it, which I feel not great about. I do really want to read that one, but this is like a graphic novel style like his last one. So for a second, I thought that I was holding this upside down because this text is upside down. But no, this is right side up. So this is, I believe, about the Twin Towers because that's what's on the cover. But I don't really know much else about it. And, oh, and it seems like it kind of goes like this. Yeah. This is the way that it's meant to be read. I am very much looking forward to finally reading this one. I don't think it's gonna take that long since the pages are insanely thick. I feel like you can't really get a good idea. Like, that's how thick the pages are. So it's not very long, but I do have a feeling it's gonna be super impactful because that's all I hear about Mouse. I feel like I either have books that are very short or very long on this list, actually. Another very short one is The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. This was actually on my TBR Spin stack 2 years ago. Also, there's tiny little bite marks from when my cat was a kitten. They're 3 years old now. So do you see these little puncture spots? Yeah, did not notice that he was doing that, but this has been on my TBR obviously for a long time, and I haven't actually read anything by H.G. Wells yet, so I think that this will be a fun one to start with. And I do want to drive home that this is The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells, not Invisible Man, because the last time I talked about this for TBR Spin, I got chewed out in a comment for not having read Invisible Man yet by Ralph Ellison, which I have. And also you should never be mean to people for not having read a book. Like, what? Also, I was holding up this book and I said it right. But now I feel like every time I talk about it, I'm like, I have to say, like, it is The Invisible Man. Sorry, that's more a me problem. There's no way that guy's still watching my channel. Oh, I didn't say what it was about. I'm pretty sure it's just a guy that's like literally invisible and he has to like wrap up to be able to be seen by anybody. And I think he kills people or somebody's killing people. That's really all I know about it. It's like a sci-fi thriller, horror, maybe, book. Speaking of thrillers, I have Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. I don't think I've read a single Karen Slaughter book, and I feel like this one is the one that is most often referenced. This is about 2 sisters, Claire and Lydia, who are like very different people. Claire is married to this like millionaire and I think she's just like a stay-at-home wife, basically. I don't know if she is a mom. And then there's Lydia, who is a single mother and is married to an ex-con and is like very much struggling. They haven't talked to each other in a very long time, but they also have another sister whose name is Julia, and she went missing like 20 years prior to the start of this story. And then this all kind of comes back up when Claire's husband, the millionaire guy, he is murdered. So there's some connection between the 2 of these things. And I think that that's what brings Claire and Lydia back together and like talking to each other. So it does sound very good. And I am really in the mood right now for a thriller. So I think that's why it sounds particularly good right now. Then next up, we have The Autobiography of Malcolm X by Alex Haley. So this is just a book that I've wanted to read for a really long time. I randomly picked it up one day and then I still haven't picked it up from my shelf. So it's time. It's time that I do it. This is the autobiography of Malcolm X. Very instrumental in the civil rights movement. Talked a lot about like the American dream and how that's not actually like a real thing, which feels very relevant today. But yeah, huge part of history in this country, so I'm excited to finally learn more about him. We've got another thriller, Stephen King's Misery. I've read a couple Stephen King's before, had mixed results. I think I've read four of his books at this point. That sounds right. Some of them I really liked, some of them I really didn't. So I'm looking forward to finally getting to one of his more classic ones. The reason why I've put this one off for so long is because shortly after getting it for the first time, I got what I think is a pretty big spoiler, and I was hoping that it would just kind of fade from my memory as time went on. I'm still worried that once I start reading it, it will come back, but it's been on my bookshelf for too long now to ignore it anymore. Also, if you've been around for a while, this might not look as familiar to you, but I did have a different copy of this book. Then I found this copy in a little library, and we all know how much I love a mass market paperback. This is one of the tall ones, which isn't, I prefer the squatter ones, but still. Like, look at these cuties. Look at them. These ones, oh, there's nothing better than a fantasy mass market paperback too. Anyways, oh, Misery, what's it about? This is about an author who is a writer of like a big, I think, romance series. And then in the latest book of it, he kills off like one of the protagonists of that series. Then he's in rural Colorado. I love when a book's set in the state I live in. He's in rural Colorado and he gets in a car accident and he is like really injured by it. And then this woman finds him, she's nursing him back to health, but also she's like kind of a crazy fan of his and she's very upset about what he did to the protagonist. So she's really just trying to get him to, I guess, like write another book that somehow brings that protagonist back. You know what, in talking about that, I didn't remember the spoiler at all. I think I might be safe. Sometimes it's a benefit to be forgetful. Next, another thriller. What is happening? The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson. So maybe this is why I'm in the mood for a thriller. I just haven't read any of the ones that I own anymore. I think that I originally heard about this book from Kayla from Books and Lala, and I really wanted to try out the different like thrillers that she read because I also really like thrillers and it seemed like we liked similar things, and that has worked out well for me. There are quite a few books that I've read on her recommendations that are thrillers that have worked out well for me. Mostly I'm thinking of Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I know there are others, but that one really sticks out in my brain because that was the first recommendation I took from her and like read it and loved it. So I'm looking forward to finally reading this one. So this is about a man who is in an airport. He meets a woman and they're having a few drinks. They're like talking about their own like problems in life and stuff. And then he kind of like mentions that he wants to like get out of his marriage. Later on, they're like both in Boston, maybe, I don't know, some city where they live, and they have this like friendship going on, but then the woman has like kind of this darker history. In my head, based off the synopsis, it kind of sounds like she's gonna go after his wife because she's like, you want to get out of this, so therefore perfect way out. But I guess also the guy has a secret too, so I don't really, obviously I don't know what it is. I haven't read the book. And I wouldn't tell you if I did know, because that would be a spoiler. I'm looking forward to reading this. Anyways, next up we have The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, a classic that I just haven't read yet. Oh, I do have a bookmark in here. Oh, it's at chapter 1. I think that I was planning on starting this, so I put the bookmark in there at chapter 1. It looked further because of how many pages were there. Basically, all I know about this is I believe that the main character has a portrait that like ages or like shows the effects of what he's doing in his life, but he doesn't. And so he's kind of like on the outside this like perfect gentleman, but then also he's like doing a lot of like shady stuff outside of that. Next up, I have The Artist of the Floating World by Kazuo Ishiguro. I can't believe this one has sat on my TBR for as long as it has, because I've read a few Ishiguros before, one of which, The Remains of the Day, is one of my favorite books of all time, but I don't know, I haven't picked this one up. I think the synopsis is not as gripping to me, but at one point I did ask several people what I should read next from him, and this was a suggested one, so I just bought it without reading the synopsis. That's exactly why it has remained on my shelf. So this is about a painter who, some of the works that he does somehow contribute to Japan entering into World War II. And then I think like a lot of it is after that though, and him like kind of coming to terms with what he did or the impacts of what he did or something along those lines, which actually does sound a lot like Remains of the Day. So I'll probably really like this. I just need to actually read it. This was, I think, on TBR Spin in like one of the first 2 years. I can't remember which one. And I do believe that I actually got it for 1 month and then never read it, which is exactly why I do what I do now in doing the live shows, reading sprints, and I have to start the book within the reading sprints to make sure that this does not happen. Okay, we've come across our lengthiest book, which is actually very old to my TBR. So this year, my goal was to read all of the books that I had owned since 2020, since the year 2020. So any book that I purchased that year, I wanted to have read. And then actually I realized that there wasn't much more that I had bought in 2021 that I had left. So then it kind of became like a dual purpose goal where I was working on both of those years. This year, I should be clearing 2022 as well and a significant chunk of 2023, which is pretty cool. Obviously, the closer we get to the present time, the more books I still have left from those years. But it would be really great to only have a TBR that's like no older than 2 years old. I think would be really awesome. Very early on in my YouTube channel, my goal was to not have any books that I'd owned for more than a year without reading. That didn't happen. Still, I do think that this is something that I pride myself on. I don't think that a lot of booktubers or people that own books in general do this, and I do like forcing myself to do this because it does force myself to look at the older books that I have and really decide if I want to read them or not. And if I don't, then to just pass them along and not let them like sit there making me feel guilty. So last year I had all of my books that I had purchased in 2020 on my 25 books to read in 2025 list. As I said, there are still 3 books that I have left from that year that are on that list, one of which I am in the middle of. However, there is actually one other one from 2020 that I haven't read yet, and it was only not on the list because I had started it, and so it felt weird to put it on the list. But now I'm putting it on this list because I still haven't read it. That is Donna Tartt's The Little Friend. So I have started this on 2 different occasions, and I've made it 132 pages in. I do feel like I really know the beginning of this book. I just think the length intimidates me, and I also don't think I've ever given myself enough time to really read it because it is good. And I have, the reason why I haven't DNF'd this and like removed it from my shelf is because I really like Donna Tartt's writing and I really enjoy my time when I'm in this book. It's just that it is so long. Whenever I think about picking it up, I'm like, ugh. That's gonna be like so long before I can read another book because I really like to sit in her books. Like Secret History took me so long, and if it wasn't a part of a video, I don't think that I would have read it even as quickly as I did. And I still took my time on that book. And I love The Secret History. That's a 5-star read for me. That's one of my favorite books. So I don't want to not read this. It's just that I haven't made it any further than 130 pages in. And I think it's like a 700-page book. Also, this cover, can we talk about it? I've talked about it before. And I talk about it every time I talk about this book. This is a gorgeous cover and I'm obsessed with it. And so I'm putting it as a part of this, even though it is a very lengthy book. I wouldn't usually put a book this long to be a part of TBR Spin, but I don't care anymore. It's going on the list. I don't think that I'm going to restart it, but I might go back a little bit just so that I know exactly where I'm at, like maybe to the start of the previous chapter, and they are pretty long chapters if I remember correctly. But I don't think I'm gonna go back to the beginning, so at least that cuts out like 100 pages of the 700-page book. Makes it slightly more doable. What I can remember is that this book is about a family, mostly about Harriet, this little girl, and she is 12 years old for like majority of the book, but it really is inspired by something that had happened how long previously? Oh, she was like young. For some reason I thought she was there or around when it happened. She was just like far too young to remember, but it does say that it was 12 years earlier that it happened, so I can't remember now if she had been born yet. I think she was born at the very least. Her brother, they end up finding him hanging in a tree, and like no idea how that happened. He was 9 years old at the time. When Harriet is 12 years old, she decides that she's going to try to solve the case of her brother's death, which sounds like a really good premise and something that Donna Tartt would be really good at writing. So I am looking forward to getting back into this one and like actually giving it the time it deserves. I'm just hoping that I get it in a month that I'm not like participating in any other reading challenges. Next up, another long one that I've been meaning to read for a very long time. It is A Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James. This is a book that has won the Booker Prize before, and I actually got to meet Marlon James at a Booker event, and I still haven't read the one that was probably probably the reason why he was there. I've read his duology that he has. I'm pretty sure it's just a duology, or is he planning on writing more books in that series? I can't remember. But this is about, so basically like something that happened in history, which was Bob Marley was in Jamaica to play a concert, and he ends up being like attacked by these gunmen, and he's just wounded, but he like survives it. I think his wife was wounded as well. Then Marlon James is basically reimagining or like recreating this time period and what kind of led to this, and exploring like these characters. I don't really know much outside of that, but it won the award, and also I've heard just so many good things about it that I am very much looking forward to reading this. And the only books that I've read from Marlon James were not literary fiction, so I'm very curious to see what this is gonna read like, just based off of the books that I've already read by him, which are very, very different. As in very different from anything I've read before. I don't know if it's gonna be different from that book. I haven't read it yet. This one, I feel like nobody on BookTube talks about this. This is such a weird one to have. But I have Strong Towns, A Bottom-Up Revolution to Rebuild American Prosperity by Charles L. Marone Jr. This is a nonfiction book. I am very interested in the ways that our towns can really provide for the people that live in them, how they can be set up in a way that really fosters community, and Strong Towns is a lot about like those themes. I originally heard about this book when I started watching the channel Not Just Bikes a long time ago. I want to say definitely by 2020. It might have been 2020 that I started watching that channel, and I had heard about this book. Also City Beautiful is another one that's kind of along those lines. And now Climate Town, I would say, kind of fits into this genre, City Nerd. And I watch City Nerd and Climate Town like all the time. Every video they make, I watch it. But this is kind of a book that's like within that realm of content and things that I just kept hearing about, so I ended up buying it. I think that I just like never read it because it doesn't seem like particularly great content for like my channel, where I don't know how much of a crossover between these two interests there are, but I think that it's gonna be fun for me specifically to read. And then finally, I have Lessons in Chemistry, which has definitely been talked about a lot on BookTube, which it's got all these stickers on it. I actually got this book from my mother-in-law. She read it for her book club and then passed it along to me. And so I don't know if I ever would have picked it up on my own, but I am actually looking forward to reading it. Like, I do think that this is going to be a good, I was a part of a try a chapter like on haul video I did, where basically I tried a chapter of a bunch of books and decided whether or not to unhaul it. I decided to keep this based off of reading the first part. So it's about this woman who is a chemist. I feel like she also works as like a TV show person or something. Star of America's most beloved cooking show, Supper at 6. But she kind of, I think, like puts a chemical twist on it. So where she'll say stuff like, combine 1 tablespoon of acetic acid with a pinch of sodium chloride. Do you have to say acetic acid? But this is also like the 1960s, so obviously like women are not lauded as great scientific minds during that time. So I think that she was doing like more science, but that was hard to do because it was a very male-dominated field. And then she's doing this. I think she's also a mother. And so like trying to do that role that is very core to women in the 1960s in particular. So I do think that this could be a really fun read. I think because it's not something that I would have picked up on my own, it just meant that it's stuck around on my bookshelf for a while. But I'm excited to finally give it a real shot and see how I actually feel about it. Okay, so that's my TBR Spin stack, and that's TBR Spin in general. Again, if you have any ideas for prompts, please do let me know. But our first live show for this, it's not officially scheduled on YouTube yet, but it's going to be the weekend after Christmas and before New Year's. So that should be a good little time for us to get together and find out what our first book of 2026 is going to be. I hope that you are excited to join in on this. Maybe consider, if you want to, putting what books are going to be on your stack in the comments, or if you don't know all of them right now, then maybe just like a couple that you're thinking will probably be there, or actually maybe just like your strategy for how you're gonna pick the books on your stack. Any of those things, I would love to know, because I typically go with this strategy now and it works out really well for me. I feel like it's a really great way to help me read through the books that are just hanging around for no reason, like that I really should get to, but I'm curious to see how other people choose as well. My battery literally died during the outro for this. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do consider subscribing and also liking, commenting, interacting with this video will tell YouTube to share it with more people, and we'll just get more people involved in the challenge for this year, which I think would be really great because it's super fun having this year-long challenge where like every month I get to see some familiar names show back up, tell me what books that they're going to be reading, either during the live shows or even in like the comments afterwards and everything, seeing what everybody's choosing. It's just so much fun to be a part of this and to all kind of still be reading from our own TBRs, but kind of sharing in that experience together. There's also going to be a Storygraph challenge for this that'll be linked in the description. How it works is it'll just show each month as the name of each prompt for now, but once we get the prompts, that will be updated to include what the actual prompt is for that month. And along those same lines, if you want to follow me more places, feel free to friend me on Storygraph. I also have an Instagram and TikTok account and a Patreon. And actually right now on Patreon, I am doing daily uploads of these like short little videos. They are daily updates on what I've been reading, and then also I open up my stationary advent calendar. Let me go up and get it because it's really cute. So this is the advent calendar that I've been opening up every day on Patreon. So typically any videos that I do is only available to the second tier on my Patreon, which is like the Shelf Wanderer. But all of these videos, these like short little advent calendar videos, are available to both tiers that I have on there. So even the cheaper one, you can still get access to all of these videos. So it's a good, you know, maybe give yourself a Christmas treat, just subscribe for a month, leave it later if you want. That's totally fine with me. And besides that, even if you don't follow me in any of those places, really this is my main channel, so I hope that you will subscribe here so that I can see you back for the next video. Bye. Well, it's the most time of it's the most time of the year. He's in rural, oh my god, why is that so hard to say? It is H.G. Wells. It is not Ralph Ellison. I've read that book already. It is incredible, okay? Like, everything's fine.